Keep them, Lord, in your tender hand of mercy. We love you. In Christ we pray. Amen.
All right, Matthew 27:55 through 66. Sorry, I'm getting a call on my phone. Okay. Many women were there watching from a distance. They had followed Jesus from Galilee to care for his needs. Among them were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. As evening approached, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who had himself become a disciple of Jesus. Going to Pilate, he asked for Jesus' body, and Pilate ordered that it be given to him. Joseph took the body, wrapped it in clean linen cloth, and placed it in his own new tomb that he had cut out of the rock. He rolled a big stone in front of the entrance to the tomb and went away. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were sitting there opposite the tomb. The next day, the one after preparation day, the chief priests and the Pharisees went to Pilate. "Sir," they said, "we remember that while he was still alive, that deceiver said, 'After 3 days I will rise again.' So give the order for the tomb to be made secure until the 3rd day. Otherwise his disciples may come and steal the body and tell the people that he has been raised from the dead. This last deception will be worse than the first." "Take guard," Pilate answered. "Go, make the tomb as secure as you know how." So they went and made the tomb secure by putting a seal on the stone and posting the guard.
Thank you. All right, have fun.
So Joseph took the body, wrapped it in a clean, fine linen. The fact that it was
I guess they could have took it off the last guy.
Is there some significance, or is like, why would you bother with that? Why is it there?
Do people have used shrouds
Yeah,
lying
is
around?
there
I don't know. I've always thought
significance
of
to
it,
that it was clean?
I've always thought of it as new,
Yeah.
as opposed to something that had been,
But
you know,
So that they would get them after a little.
More women there.
very well could have. Good question.
That's good reason to say, clean or whatever, clean.
It makes me feel good because we do a lot of clothes shopping.
Yeah.
But there's also the angle where you said clean, and it's also the angle where that person is in their culture too.
I guess just probably Jesus, the purity of it.
The purity, that's what I
Purity,
was
because you
getting
don't
at.
get a dirty used one, you know.
It'd be interesting to look that word up in Greek.
Well, in society, do women tell
We
you
do
men
agree.
than they did men during that time?
Yeah, I could go look it up.
Men would get in trouble for. I'm just saying.
In fact, I'll go do it real quick.
But they were.
Okay, you write that.
They didn't really.
He's already got it.
I'm saying-
In this app,
I'm
you
just
can
saying
look it up.
they
It's,
were looked differently in
Capros.
society than men are, where, you know, Peter.
You didn't pronounce that right.
Questioned it, was pointed out, well, we
I don't know how it's pronounced, but I'm pretty sure.
Kitharos.
See?
Yeah. So women would be able to do that, and nobody would raise a
yeah,
eyebrow.
clean, pure, and
Women
it
would
can be
be-
used for physically,
Yeah.
Levitically, ethically, like it has lots
You know,
of
they didn't prepare for Jesus anyway.
Why'd you say again? Catharos, I think.
I bet you there's
Let's take the
a,
meeting again.
Clean or pure, but it has a physically category, a Levitical category, and ethics
what
category.
there's a Levitical connection, like with
Clean, the use of which is not forbidden, imparts no uncleanliness.
And if they've been around another dead person.
So that was the reason why.
yeah, so
I was remembering that when they came to the tomb, they found the linens there, and so I was looking ahead to see where that is, but I'm noticing that Matthew's description of them coming to the tomb is very, very brief. It's like no details there. Those are obviously coming from other gospels, because it's like Yeah, there's almost no detail there in the next chapter about that. so.
One of the things that really stood out in my study was the fact they pointed out that Joseph was rich. And then it got me thinking about uncleanness. If he would have handled the body, and Nicodemus, who was Pharisee, I mean, both of the Sanhedrin, so you start going, wait a second here. I bet they hired someone. I don't know for sure,
know.
but it would make sense that they had servants that would do the work for them so that they could remain ceremonially clean. But I don't know, it's one of those things, it's kind of fun to think about. All right.
And you know another thing, men were,
Guess when y'all
I
have
don't know,
sheets.
I don't know, women,
I can share it.
I don't know.
Go ahead, please.
That's what I'm saying. Did they work crucified?
They work.
Okay, I didn't know Mark.
All right, I
Women
put
were
that as a-
crucified.
All right, so what I like to do is we've been speeding it up lately, trying to get
That's
some
me.
out of focus. So we'll go through the first
No,
part.
they were, that's true.
Mhm.
But
Get
there
more
were
discussion at the end.
crucifixions. Okay.
I just don't.
Yes, they were stoned. Yes, they were.
Do you know sign language?
So maybe an exception.
We're gonna breeze through this first part.
Okay.
Breeze through this.
Okay. Okay, Mark, I've got you a treat now.
You want one of my hearing aids?
They're having more fun with it. All right, observing the passage, what details stand out to you about the women who watched?
I know it's in the Coliseum.
So many marriages.
Oh, were they crucified?
Everybody
Okay.
like, name Mary is popular.
I can see them crucified.
I was curious on Sunday, I was trying to figure out if when it says Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, if it's Jesus' mother Mary, or was another one. I think it's Jesus' mother.
I'm just curious, I mean, there's things men get.
I think,
I mean, sometimes
I think
people
one of the
invent
things that stands out to me about the women being there, especially as opposed to the men not being there, is that during that time, women were just.
Of course, they were
nothing.
thinking all kinds of.
And for a group of women to be standing there, there was no danger
There was
at
things
all for
they
them.
didn't.
Nobody's gonna arrest them, and nobody's gonna care that there's these women there. I mean, they're no better than, nothing's better than slaves.
Possibly could be some of the women that followed him.
Yeah, but still.
I understand, yeah.
You know, the Roman soldiers and the authorities are gonna care less
No,
about.
I agree
women.
with you, but our women were together with the women, some of your.
So it was safe for them as opposed to the other disciples.
Yeah, it makes sense, women wouldn't be abreast, really, well, plus women are naturally nurturers, and compassionate, so it would make sense they would be hovering in an area that they felt needed.
But the apostles obviously liked Jesus too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think our explanation might be to say, well, they're here, so they're more virtuous in some way, but I think you're probably right that there was not much danger to them in being there, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and the apostles, for the majority, didn't even come to the crucifixion.
She was at the opinion, she was her son to be on Friday. Yeah, she was that, she put her son.
Yeah, but the others
I know the chosen.
already.
John was there and he talked to John to take care of Mary, his mother.
Yeah, they were afraid at
Chosen, they
this
do.
point.
But
that
sometimes
they
we
would
just
be
because they
there,
don't mention
probably.
that there's a father,
That's
that's
right.
not.
His mother Mary was there.
You know, I was thinking on the other
That's
day,
mainly all we really know about
Mary
Mary
Magdalene.
We knew she's from Magdalene.
And I know this is
17.
that way. I
That's
remember
pretty
that
much all we
book,
know about
Da
it, right?
Vinci Code, and that movie that come out
Don't
supposedly
really see
Jesus
anything else about it.
married
Okay.
Mary, and they had a child.
What's that, Greg?
No.
Okay, I get
You know, that was a crazy idea. There's no scriptural basis for it.
I did find out that
Doesn't Mary Magdalene.
Yeah, why do you think Matthew highlights the presence,
Okay.
their presence after describing?
one of the things
his
that I
death?
was thinking about was the fact.
That's what we just kind of did. Let's move on.
Yes.
What do we learn about Joseph and Father from Matthew's brief description?
Because of that.
Okay.
Well, like Mark said, he's rich.
Why do you think?
But he was also a member of the Sanhedrin. Or he was a Pharisee.
Well, yeah.
There was
And
something
it was
about
his
it.
tomb, wasn't it?
It was on the council.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on the council. It was his too.
Yeah, like Mark said, if he was rich enough, he would have somebody else handle it.
Yeah, well, for religious purposes, probably. I mean, even though technically they were religious leaders, but they weren't necessarily what you would call, I would think as much as priests, they were learned. The priest was the high priest.
Yeah.
But then they were, like priests weren't back in the day of Moses. You
Well,
know.
what they do is they're not touching their body because it's unclean and all that, so they have some, that makes sense to have somebody else do it.
Symbolically, yeah.
Well, I mean, if somebody's gotta do it, then why not them, right? Like, I think it would speak less of them if they paid somebody else to do the dirty work. And
Yeah, I
And-
understand that too.
Matthew says, so Joseph took the body, wrapped it in clean fine linen, and placed it in his new tomb. So the way it's worded there is that he did it himself. It could mean that he had it done, but I suspect that Joseph here is being entirely virtuous and sacrificing a lot, not just his tomb and his clean fine linens, but his ritual purity and all that. Seems that he's all in here because he's risking a lot to do this. So
His reputation would have been on the line.
absolutely, I mean,
With all the other Sanhedrin members.
so I think he's highly commendable here.
What? We're too emotional to tell the truth? Okay, no comments, guys.
Y'all too loud
We
over
love
there.
our brothers, let's not make any comments. I can cry.
Anna pointed out,
My sister. Our brothers are, but our brothers
Say
are
if he was
responsible.
already he wouldn't have cared about cleaning it up.
We're
so you
smart
were-
brothers and sisters. That's right, that's right, that's right. You don't have to go into detail.
Yeah.
And women have been.
Yeah, I think he would have learned from Jesus, you know,
They really did.
with Jesus with the healing people on the Sabbath and the disciples eating the grain and all these places where Jesus showed that there was something greater than the law. I think if Joseph understood that, then he'd have no problem with doing what he did and understanding that this is an important thing that he's doing. And it kind of reminds me of the woman who anointed him with the costly perfume, and you know there was just a willingness to sacrifice to serve Jesus in whatever way, and Joseph sees an opportunity here and takes it.
I lean that direction as well, I think.
Yes.
Because if you think about the fact that these are both
Yes.
pretty much believers in Jesus when the rest of them weren't, you know, that makes a difference.
Yes, that's true, that
But
influence.
going right on that line, what does his request to Pilate show about him?
Yes, it wasn't everything.
Mhm.
He was boldness.
I'm sure Pilate probably knew him just as well as a lot of the other Sanhedrin.
Man knew who he was.
True.
Yeah. But he didn't offer resistance, and Pilate obviously washed his hands of it, so he didn't want any more to do with it. How does Matthew describe the burial process?
There's probably women that were financially aiding them and everything. Joanna,
It'd be
Yeah.
smart to say with words.
she's very well off. Yeah.
The body was wrapped in a clean fine linen, placed in the tomb that was cut into the rock, and a great stone was rolled against the entrance of the tomb.
Pretty good description.
Y'all heard about the tornado supposed to happen. The linen that Jesus was wrapped in, like we see it.
He told us, he wouldn't be sure to tell us.
Well, the thing I don't necessarily wonder about that, Keith, is we don't have
But
any
we do
real
know it did
image other than a vague description of Jesus' appearance. And I've always wondered about that, and the way I look at it is, what would we have done if we had known exactly, even today, what Jesus' appearance was? What would we have
About
done?
Joseph?
Yeah, and they've done some scientific tests on it.
Well,
But what gets you too is that people actually come to worship that piece of linen.
And
And it makes me wonder, how did a piece of linen last 2,000 years without rotting and destroying it before they even found it? You know?
Well, even if it is or isn't, that's the whole point, as you just said.
Yeah, they come in.
People worship the item more than they do the individual, and it's a misguided, so it's almost like making an idol out of it. And that's why I don't think we have an image. It was a prayer. We don't have an image.
Say, I know this man, and I want.
Well, I agree. I
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
What is the significance of the new tone cut and the rock and the large stone?
Yes. Those are good lawyers, don't they?
I believe something's never been used.
He knew what to say.
I think the idea is there's no mistaking what happened.
He knew how to, yeah, he knew how to speak.
Nobody else is in there.
Yeah, like this is, it either is or isn't in there, and there's, it was sealed shut with this giant stone. There was, it gives credibility to the resurrection claim that, the body wasn't stolen. There was no mistaking, there was no mix up there, there was no deception.
There was no other body in there spot with it.
Yeah, it's like, it's
It's fit for a king.
that's true too.
Well, I'm sure that people in the area knew
Yeah.
that that was.
Tombs, were they carved out of wood by hand?
Did only Egyptians do that?
How big is something? I guess it depends. I guess
Yeah.
Joseph was kind of rich.
Just Egyptians.
Backhoe.
Yeah, yeah, back up. How did they carve that out of rock?
Dynamite.
Yeah, just amazing. You know, they use caves too. They already used the caves.
Yeah.
That time. When we didn't
Oh,
know
the
Egyptians,
Egyptians
I mean,
Hammer and chisel.
but how they carved that out of maybe some kind of So-
They had those things.
It's possible, because you can rest it on.
Should've been something like limestone that wasn't too difficult to.
Because it was a very.
maybe
Cut
something that
into,
would.
but I don't know.
I just wondered.
Well, remember,
Prominent.
Jesus was a
Maybe
carpenter,
just
but that
prominent.
carpenter meant not just in wood, but
Not
in
regular
stone as well.
Egyptians.
So,
Craftsman, yeah.
anyway, just thought about that.
It is.
Why did the chief
Very
priests and
all
Pharisees
the
remember
belongings
Jesus
with
after 3 days? I will rise, prediction, Cyrus, and
Exactly. Well, that was
This is pretty elaborate process here.
gotta be getting their minds a little bit here.
Well, that caught my attention when he was reading it, because during the trial, they were saying that, oh, he said he was going to destroy this temple and rebuild it in 3 days, and
Yeah.
So.
Jesus was talking about his body, it says. So it seems that they understood what Jesus was saying, because now they're like, okay, now that we've got this done, okay, he said he was going to rise after 3 days. So I'll admit that now, and now we got to deal with that, where they had twisted his words previously to.
But didn't they kind of mock him and say, like, how can you tear this temple down and rebuild it in 3 days? The physical Herod's temple.
Yeah,
Remember, they mocked him for that, but now they're saying, yeah, and
Well,
yeah, what do you think?
I think, I just figured they wanted to make sure
Oh, yeah.
something didn't happen to make him appear to be what they thought he wasn't. Is the way it kind of went. They were fearful that somebody would take the body, because that's kind of what it leads up to. When they go to Pilate and say, hey, we don't want them stealing the body, plus where are all these guys at that following him? They could come back and get it, get the body and make the claim. So they didn't want to lose him more than it was. I think Jesus was referring to the temple as in the temple meaning the relation of the temple meaning residing and he would rise up the temple. That's the people that he would be with. Which also happens in remember when he dies, back when he died on the cross, out of the grave came some of the saints, didn't it? Back in the day. Some of the folks that were buried in the rose from the graves. So, I mean, again, that's another symbolic of that, in the people.
He told the disciples several times. I'm trying to look up references, but there's like at least 3 that I managed to look up where he was telling the disciples that his body was.
So what's the significance of you?
But I don't know if that's not the scribes and Pharisees,
No.
unless that's mentioned somewhere else.
It could have hurt us though. I mean,
Yeah,
having,
word of mouth.
Yeah, murmuring, well, they're saying that he said he would rise in 3 days. So very well could.
Bare rock and started clearing out
Interesting.
scrap rock.
One of those questions we'll have to remember to ask when we get there. What does the contrast reveal? We just kind of spread it. What steps did the authorities take to secure the tomb? And I found this one. What steps did the authorities take to secure the tomb, and why are the measures emphasized? It kind of follows what we've already talked about, but one thing Mark mentioned that I never really understood or thought about, and it didn't hit me until he was talking about this thing, was the seals wasn't like what I was thinking of, just how they used back in those times, the clay and the seal on a letter, like wax. Just, I always thought it was something along that line, like they sealed it with a wax or whatever to see to make sure it wasn't broken.
Clay or something.
Yeah, or maybe clay, but it's actually metal. It was a metal brace that was.
Yeah. There's something on you can tell if it can move because it says wax or clay or mud.
Well, they hammered in a metal brace to the rock and to the.
Yeah.
It would take quite a bit of work to get it out to move the rock. So I don't know. I might have to do a little. A little bit different.
So they're probably gonna try to mix it in so no.
They were intending on that not being open. And there would be no doubt. And that's what the sealing of it was designed to do. Prohibit it.
Are you two ready? Or do they do this just?
All right, let's interpret the message now. Why might Matthew include eyewitnesses, the eyewitness were in a time when female testimony was not legally valued?
It was imagine what Jesus.
That's what I said.
You just don't listen to her.
If,
In other words, they wouldn't listen to you. You're not even good enough to be a witness. If you're a woman, you're in that kind of.
Yeah. That's part I heard. But who was worried about that?
Why did Matthew include this in his description, these eyewitnesses being women, when in truth, the time period, women's testimony wouldn't be of any value, but to Matthew, it was of value.
Well, because to Jesus,
When
women
they
were
showed up the next day,
And also, a lot of these women help support them.
permission to seal up the tomb.
You know,
Joanna and Susanna.
yeah, so somebody had.
Financially supported.
Financial support.
I think too, whenever it mentions one of them being the mother of Joseph and James, I think when I was looking it up, I think that's saying it's Jesus' mother, and Joseph and James are both people who are leaders in the church. So you're also having like you're saying, hey, these are 2 witnesses whose mother was there as well. So it's further corroboration of this actually did happen. Because like with Jewish custom, you have 2 or 3 witnesses, right? So if you have 2 or 3 people who were there in that time period, and like, hey, their mother was here, just further corroborates the story.
Well, like I think you said, alluded to, is Jesus validated it. And in this particular case, I think women being witnesses was just as important as the men in reading the story of Jesus and his testimony, witness. They were just witnesses of him.
And I was thinking, you go back to the way, you know, Jesus could have just appeared. But just,
He does later.
he could have just appeared, no, listen, he could have just appeared magically and just started.
Supposedly there's different motives.
He had to be born of a woman.
That don't happen.
And when the angel came, the Gabriel came to Mary, talked to her. You know, he said, you're highly favored.
And put a seal on it.
And then Mary doesn't argue, doesn't say anything, and she says, you know, I'm happy that they should do what I do.
Yeah, he's made this claim, we're gonna be sure it
So,
don't
you know,
happen. So they're different
from then
motives
on-
why they don't each other.
So why do you think it was important that he came to the world?
Because he just like everybody else, we're all born.
Flesh and blood. It was an actual flesh and blood sacrifice. Even though he was
Interpreting that as.
God, he was also part of God when the Trinity. He came to be flesh and blood so that he could be the sacrifice, the literal sacrifice.
Yeah, so even, he starts from then.
He could have probably appeared immediately afterwards, filled it up and everything, you might walk right out. But he did. He does it in a different way. And it's because he's doing it for
But it also, like you're
his
saying,
believers, his church.
they didn't believe it. They understood what Jesus was saying. Whereas the disciples
Building
believed
one
Jesus.
seed.
They didn't believe
Um,
resurrection worked in them. Talked about it.
What does this reveal about the reliability and countercultural nature of the gospel?
Jesus came and there's no preacher, they were scared.
That's what he did. Changed the world.
Yeah, but they kind of become obsessed with it, fixated on it. And sometimes
In what ways does Joseph
you have
or
an enemy like that.
Arimathea,
You study it.
it's like a I in this place, it should be air, Arimathea.
Really following Jesus.
Risk his reputation or safety by carrying Jesus for Jesus' body. Yeah,
Yeah, they.
we did. What does the sealing of the tomb, posting the guard say about the level of opposition
Were just.
to Jesus even over his death? We kind of discussed that. How does Matthew's emphasis on the precautions, seal, guard, official bond, strength, credibility of the resurrection narrative in chapter 8?
It'd be hard to, you say, oh, Jesus raised Lazarus.
I think that's important too.
It'd be hard for them to.
If somebody had gone in and stolen the body from Rome like that, Rome would have come down with a huge iron fist. And the fact that, like in that moment, like whenever the body's gone, Rome's not crushing somebody immediately. In my mind, would make it seem like no one actually came in and stole the body, like something supernatural happened. Because otherwise, like if you're messing with Rome, like you're messing with one of the highest physical powers in the world. And the disciples themselves, like they wouldn't have had the power or strength to do that. Only God could best Rome in that regard.
It was hard to hide the fact that it was stolen, or it wasn't stolen. And then it was, like you said, supernatural. There's so much emphasis put on it. The effort to seal it up, the effort to guard it, the effort to make sure nothing happened, and it still happened. It just totally, basically validates the resurrection. Not just witnesses, you got the soldiers who were witnesses besides that, close to the end, what they said. Oh, okay. But, so they got that, and, of course, soldiers in that day and time, especially a Roman soldier, maybe if you're alive, because they're not there for
They paid them off. They wouldn't
someone
have,
who
they
they
paid
got
them
in
off.
prison to escape. In this case, Jesus escapes.
Then they were out of them, so we need to money. Yes.
So that was, when you do those
Punishment.
subjects.
Yeah, but they weren't.
I remember somewhere, when I was in this particular section, that some soldiers were killed because they lost their prisoners.
Clearly what's happening.
And Paul was in prison when the earthquake came. It mentions there.
He was about to, if you're a prisoner or jailer, if anybody escapes, they kill you anyway.
I remember Peter also escaped because an angel came to him and they walked him right out to the guy from the guards.
Peter John just walked
Right out. It seemed like there were some soldiers that did die. Some of them
This Matthew here is setting the story straight.
murdered because they allowed the prisoner to go there.
There was no way that these, the pilots were going to let Harris was going to let this tomb go in the garden.
I'm not able to pull it up, but I.
Nobody can reach the story.
It's interesting that down the course of history,
That's why the Corinthian jailer was,
Correct.
became a,
He didn't die.
no, but he became a
secular.
Well, I mean, you already had soldiers standing at the cross and
One
going
thing that what they've got here
Yeah,
is the emphasis that
they start seeing all the things happen. And you gotta remember too, that you had the
miraculous
temple where the curtain was ripped from the top down. I mean, all that had happened after the crucifixion. Now you've got the raising, so in between that, you've got those worries in their mind about this body being taken to because all these supernatural effects. Rising of people out of the grave, the ripping of the veil in the temple. That would have all played a part in their words.
You know, Scott mentioned about the veil being ripped. I didn't think they explained that.
Wind up
How did
with,
the word not give
when
it?
you tell the story
Did the
of
word
the
not give it rise?
arousal,
Did it not tell
all of a
anyone?
sudden greater
The
impact,
priest was on charge that day.
because there are all the possible
Just-
other explanations.
You know, he sewed up really fast. I mean, what?
Just don't-
How did they, it's not recorded how they reacted to it. And that was so important.
It wasn't recorded how they acted.
Secretly.
People come out of the grave. I
Yeah,
think that'd been a pretty big
they
deal.
were saying half-assed too, it's just, I just wondered how they would have reacted.
Yeah, and it's amazing to think about.
All the priests and everybody,
Okay, let's take their story about
they,
it.
you know.
They came in and fortified,
Yeah.
Well, I'd wanna know, I'd like to know the people that came out of the graves, how long they live after that.
So that would be.
Usually go back.
Yeah.
That, to me, that's a very area of the.
Especially some of them were dead for a long time.
Exactly. So,
And we're willing to die.
but I think you're kind of getting that point of where you go. I don't really want to go there.
Yeah.
Especially in that day and time, the superstition about it, of death, and seeing the angels and spirits. and
People
so forth.
always tell.
People probably just
At
didn't
some point, they tell
say
something.
much about it.
Yes. And so it's really a testimony that this clearly.
You're being in prison, that's where the girls.
That's what
Just from
they're-
what character.
So I needed to know.
Because they were
that.
unable to keep them in
Never
prison.
Harry had it.
Miraculous escape.
Okay. There you go. I said it without even realizing. I knew it was somewhere in there. Thank you for looking at
The ones that
that.
were left, that's, you know, like.
In our answer to these two questions.
So let's go to application.
John, the last one.
We got 15 minutes, so let's slow down a little bit and chew on these.
Bill talked about the.
3 minutes per question because of staff questions.
You got that sorted out right. In contrast to the fearful disciples, the women remain near the cross and the tomb. What does their devotion teach us about faithful discipleship in moments of grief or confusion?
thing that he was.
Remain strong
He
and
was in and
courageous.
sign of respect and the way.
They
Trust in
certainly,
God.
They certainly had one of hers when the disciples died. I think they're pretty much, well, when nobody listened to them, they pretty much
Much different way.
also had a lot of witnessing that they do, they wanted to listen to them.
What does this reveal about the life?
I think some people listen to them. Yeah, I think so. I think it's the ones you don't want to
Elevation.
validate.
When they carried back, said they followed him from Galilee in order to see to his
Because they
miracles.
were there and then what?
They were gonna see it through to the end.
Mark identifies this Mary as the mother of James the Younger and Joseph.
About women born men.
James is one of the apostles, so I think this is probably not talking about Jesus' mother, Mary, but so that's interesting because you have two mothers of some of the apostles that are kind of in the group there that are
In their eyes.
along with Mary Magdalene. So
But that's never stopped a
They're-
woman from getting things done.
when,
Because it's
suspect
James,
just
the
as
brother
we-
of John.
just as
was
we
not
can
known
see
as
that
the lesser,
existing
was there a
right
second
here
James?
in
yeah, James the less in the song, or James the Younger here. So yeah, I think that's
Suspect there's a
Well,
lot
it could have been
more
James the
going
younger
on.
brother, who's the one who wrote James.
God is doing that.
We know Mary and his mother was there.
Yeah.
That Jesus touched him.
That's one of those things you can toss about.
Human nature's changed that
Hard
much
to
over
know,
all this period.
really.
Which shows the impact that Jesus had. He called these men, and you see their families seeing what's going on, and think about them kind of being brought into the group and supporting the group. And there's a bigger network here of people involved in this movement than just the 12, and specifically here a couple of the mothers.
It's kind of hard to remember that because when we read the Bible, you see so many of the main characters repeated over and over and over that the majority of the 12 we don't even get to know in their families.
Yeah.
There's so much there we don't know. In that part of the book, and even in Acts, you don't have that description
Called lunchroom
of what they did. But they did more than what we see in Acts.
High school lunchroom.
There's actually a book out.
First
I
day.
can't think of the name of it or the author at this point.
You go in first day.
The guy goes up, he's gone, made his life
You just start stressing you out.
duty to go out to search the church, actual church records. Because a lot of
Where are you gonna sit?
Catholic churches
Because everybody gets
years,
divided up, right? Groups.
it's an older part of the church system, had kept records of these saints and disciples, and they considered relics, their bodies and whatever. And so they would have documentation about these stories. A lot of it was orally transferred, and then somebody wrote it down eventually. And it would talk about the areas in this book, it talks about the areas they would actually disciple and build churches and the influence. And that's how they come up with all these different saints and all the way that, how they build out the Catholic system. So they have a value there to us. In that aspect. Well, if you want to find out more about it, the guy did a really good.
Really can't be verified.
It's not verifiable, no. No.
So you need to be careful about it.
Yes. It just gives you a hint more than anything. It's just hearsay. But it shows a hint of how Christianity spread. And it makes sense that there's more going on than just Paul, just Peter, just, there's more going on actually out there. And you get a taste of that when you go
Running back to the other disciples.
meets the Ethiopian. You think about how far that spread. Ethiopia takes it down and to his queen, and then all of a sudden you have this influence in that region. It's not how it spreads.
Well, there's still
Much different than our
Pastor Christian influence in parts of Ethiopia,
Well,
even to this day.
That's part of it too. You see
And
the
I even
kind of
watched this thing about
thing that study,
Ark of the Covenant.
I see that pattern.
Some people say the Ark of the Covenant is in some church in Ethiopia.
No,
No, but nobody ever seen it. I know, it's just, I watched something about that.
yeah, it's kind of like the internet. You get all the, what do you call them, the fake stories that, or what do you call them, theories,
Oh, yeah.
conspiracy theories. Yeah, there you go. Maybe that's where Raiders of the Lost Ark got the ruins in Egypt is where they found it. Joseph of Arimathea. I said it wrong. Arimathea.
That's pretty close. Maybe actually right.
Goes public with his faith when others hide. Where might God be calling you to take a courageous public step of faith? This is more of an internal, personal thing. Where you had to challenge yourself to be more public about your belief in an area that's not quite feels safe.
How she just released it to God. And it's just amazing.
It changes from day to day, how safe it feels.
I didn't know.
Has anybody ever encountered anybody challenging it anywhere?
Yes. I couldn't stand
Facebook Messenger.
I wouldn't be standing.
Yeah, I guess so. It's easier behind on a keyboard. I've had a atheist child said he didn't believe in God.
She went to jump off the bridge.
If that's what it takes to be a good person, I guess that's a good thing.
She lost them because she was addicted to alcohol and drugs.
As though they're good, and I'm like,
She
what do you
went
find is
because
good?
she didn't have her children. She felt
I didn't really
total
argue with
failure.
him.
She went to kill herself. She got
I
on
took
the
it, he
bridge.
just doesn't
Little boy
understand.
rides up on a
So I
bicycle.
don't listen to it. I didn't try to convince him, because if I try to convince him, he doesn't want to be against anything. Her mindset for it. Now, if he'd asked me a question,
That was the
I would,
son.
I would,
Because she told
There's
us
lots of good people that are,
because she saved her that night.
what they're missing is Jesus.
yeah, it's not about that. That's the whole point. So it tells me that they misunderstood. No other stories? I wonder if it's Friday.
Yeah, he
I
has.
bet Friday would have some stories. Religious leaders try to secure the tomb against God's purposes. Where do we sometimes attempt to control or contain what God wants to do in our lives?
Sometimes you just be selfish about your own self-interest.
Also afraid,
Or
afraid.
afraid, yeah, it's fear. Fear what someone else will say, fear if somebody will say about you.
I think it's David Lytle is when he talks about when he got the diagnosis of stage 4 cancer. He was supposed to die in what, 6 weeks or something? And that's been years.
I'd say most of us here said some kind of prayer about it.
What was the question? That third one down.
But religious leaders try to secure the tomb against God's purposes. Where do we sometimes attempt to control or contain what God wants to do in our lives?
You know, that even says that if that had happened, I he said that I brought it home.
Services and things. God wants us to serve, right? And our church doesn't seem to have a lot of resistance to that, but there are, times when people feel, moved to do certain things, certain ways.
If you take that as an individual question,
Yeah,
as opposed to a church
yeah.
setting,
I think it's
I
individual.
think I think it needs to be, for it to be individual. So there are ways that we
Did you see the whole thing?
try to ignore what's telling us. Do what we want instead. Is that kind of the idea? I think sometimes we stuff it by making excuses.
I agree.
It's not in our time. We need to do it.
Yeah, I don't think, and I don't think. Or I think they'll like it.
He's a narrator. Okay.
Moses and Aaron.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, it's very hard when you're asking.
Wanting
to follow Jesus. And then you have to go. And then you go, but why are you asking me? Because you want me to do it. I have to realize you're moving me in that direction, whether I want to go or not. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's because you have what he's looking for, I guess.
Yes.
Is the way I see it.
Jesus calls us to sacrifice our goods and our lives, and we do everything that we can to secure those. And it feels a lot of times to me like we're just doing the opposite of what Jesus wants us to do by refusing to do anything that could be physically dangerous in any way, and making sure that we've got money in the bank and a house and stocks and retirement. It's like all the focus we put on all that stuff seems to be antithetical to what really Jesus is calling us to do. And so yeah, I think we've got room to do better there. About, and to me, it's a trust issue. If we trust God, then we'd be willing to take those risks, whether they're financial or physical or whatever. But everything we do seems to be to secure.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge between being secure in our world or growing spiritually in Him
But it did say was
and
righteous.
taking a risk. And I think that's what Skip and I agree on. And that he would normally do.
He was going to humiliate her in public.
Right, you'd already made that.
You made that decision and then you have to tell her, take care of your
It's
body.
sealing of the tomb shows a human effort to stop God's plan. All the time is God moving in a situation. That's sealed shut.
Exactly, yeah.
You know,
Sure, yeah, right.
I guess I'm not affect us here personally. Remember the story Tom Grant said about some missionaries wanting to go down somewhere in South Fiji or whatever. I can't remember some of those islands themselves. And missionaries wanted to go down there, and they had to get some visas, and whoever in the government controlled all those visas would not let them have those visas or whatever, or something. You remember that story Tom talked about?
Yeah, I do.
And you know, remember how it goes? And
Not exactly, but I remember.
And so the people started praying for it, praying a lot, that something would change this man's mind and let him have these visas for these missionaries that go into the country. Well, ended up that man actually died. And it was like, well, people say, well, he didn't want that to happen. That's when he changed his mind, but he died, so there's a new, whatever, secretary or whatever you call it, that visas. They came to him and they said, yeah, how many do you want? And it just opened up like that for them to move into there.
That sounds about right.
Get that story where Tom's here? So I'm like, there's a good sound.
You think about Elizabeth Elliot's story. I don't know if you are familiar with who Elizabeth Elliot was, but she and her husband were missionaries in this South American country, and they were going to a tribe and going to teach them. And her husband and the men that were with her one day had gone in good faith to meet these people, and they killed them. And yet Elizabeth Elliot stayed in that area, and she writes that in just a few years, she and other people were able to go back into that tribe and into that same
Story
group
tells the
of.
woman that the man actually killed her husband was converted. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
See that story?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, wow. Where a nun was working with the tribe that did not have a language and didn't have a written language. So she was trying to come up with a language to teach them. One of the stories she used was that Jesus spits on the dirt and that made a paste of the guy's eyes. And that had to be one of the processes that she immediately got the chief's attention. She was able to stay and
Back in winter.
yeah.
Yeah, I got his book and read it. I still got it.
She's a fascinating person.
It was, of course, been interesting because remember how men and women basically wearing clothes too. So she was teaching these men and they were pretty much naked. Until they somehow they started wearing clothes after that.
And she's in their environment though, at that point it's kind of normal.
It's just part of their culture. They just wear no clothes at all.
We've got, we had one question left, but it's really about question. You read it.